Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Empress Dowager Cixi was a very dominant woman, with her tactics and schemes even surpassing many men. When it came to palace intrigue and political upheaval, Cixi was definitely a master among masters. However, when it came to governing the country, what was needed was a broad-mindedness and far-reaching vision, which unfortunately Cixi did not possess. She lacked the ability to govern the Qing dynasty but was unwilling to let go of power, and in her later years, she indulged in extravagance and luxury, which only accelerated the decline of the Qing dynasty. During her lifetime, Cixi enjoyed all the earthly glory, and after her death, she brought countless treasures into her tomb. On October 23, 1908, Cixi's body was placed in a coffin. Over the course of 76 years, her body was coffined 3 times in the same coffin, and her remains are still intact to this day. In this incredible tale, there are many strange and fascinating stories. In the 5th year of the Tongzhi era, Emperor Xianfeng's mausoleum was completed. According to Qing dynasty customs, the tombs of 2 empresses, Cixi and Qian, could only be located near the Xianfeng Emperor's mausoleum, and only one empress tomb could be built. However, Cixi was very dissatisfied with this arrangement, and even angry. She directly asked the ministers why they could not build a separate tomb for each of them. As a result, the Qing dynasty's rules were broken, and 2 empress tombs were built. After Emperor Tongzhi reached adulthood, he went to pay his respects at the Xianfeng Emperor's mausoleum, and then renamed Pingdingshan near the mausoleum to Puxianjiu, for Qian's tomb, and renamed Mount Putuo to Putuyu, for Cixi's tomb. The construction of both tombs took 6 years and cost nearly 5 million taels of silver. On October 22, 1908, Cixi, who had dominated the political stage for her entire life, completed her legendary journey of 74 years and passed away. The head eunuch of the ceremonial guards used a yellow auspicious sedan chair to carry Cixi's body from the Ilwan Hall in the Western Garden to the bed in the Huangji Palace the next day. In the presence of everyone, Cixi's body was coffined for the first time and buried in the Eastern Mausoleum of Putuyu. The gold and silver treasures in her coffin were worth nearly 50 million taels of silver, which can be said to be the world's most valuable. According to Ayuexian notebook, written by her close eunuch Li Lianying, before Cixi's body was placed in the coffin, 3 layers of gold-threaded pearl brocade and 1 layer of pearls, 1 foot thick, were laid at the bottom of the coffin. A jade lotus leaf was placed at the head, and a pink tourmaline lotus was placed at the foot. Wearing a phoenix crown adorned with pearls, with the largest pearl on the crown as big as a chicken egg, worth 10 million taels of silver. There are 27 Buddha statues made of gold, gems, jade, and emerald carvings on either side. On each side of the feet, there are jade watermelons, sweet melons, and Chinese cabbage, as well as more than 200 pieces of gemstone-made peaches, plums, apricots, and dates. A lotus flower made of jade is placed on the left, and a coral tree made of jade is placed on the right. In addition, there are 8 jade horses and 18 arhats made of jade, totaling over 700 items. After the funeral, 4 liters of pearls and 2,200 pieces of gemstones were poured into the coffin. Such a collection of treasures in one coffin would naturally bring enormous disaster. Just 20 years after her death, another thief who was just as ruthless and reckless as Cixi dug up her tomb, destroyed the coffin, and threw her body away. On July 8, 1928, under the guise of a military exercise, Sun Dianying, the commander of the 12th Army of the 6th Corps of the Nationalist Party, drove away all the guards, sealed off the area, and imposed martial law to excavate the tomb of Empress Dowager Cixi. The thieves looted all the funerary items in the tomb, not even sparing her shroud. For Empress Dowager Cixi, who was once the most powerful figure in China, this must have been her most shameful experience. After the Sun Dianying tomb robbery case, Puyi sent Zai Zai and others to rebury Cixi's remains in the eastern tomb. Zai Zai and others went into the underground palace and saw Cixi's body lying on the coffin, facing north with her feet pointing south and her left hand resting on her back. The body had been exposed for over 40 days in the underground palace, and many spots had appeared on it, covered in white hair. Cixi and others saw that the inner coffin was still intact and could be reused. They ordered someone to cover Cixi's body with a piece of yellow silk, and put a yellow satin mattress on one side of the body. Then they slowly turned the body over, placing it face up on the yellow satin mattress. Cixi's face was pale, her eyes sunken, her cheekbones prominent, and her lips scarred. With everyone's help, they lifted Cixi's body into the coffin using a long wooden board. They covered the body with a yellow satin quilt and wrapped Cixi's nails and teeth that were cut off during her lifetime with yellow silk, placing them on the quilt. Cixi also placed the relics he had obtained from Cixi, a yellow satin gown and a jacket, on the quilt, covered the coffin with the lid, and sealed it with lacquer, completing the reburial process. This is the second time Empress Dowager Cixi's body was laid to rest, and although it was much more hurried than the first time, her body was finally given peace once again. The third time her body was laid to rest was on December 6, 1983, at the Qingdangling tomb when there were no tourists around. A cleaning team was formed by the Qingdangling Cultural Relics Management Office to clean the inner coffin of Empress Dowager Cixi's tomb. The team members and relevant personnel all wore white coats, masks, and gloves, and all their actions were recorded by cameras. The inner coffin of Empress Dowager Cixi was entirely covered in vermilion lacquer and had a sloping top on all sides. The coffin was 225 centimeters long, 98 centimeters high at the front, and 91 centimeters high at the back, 128.5 centimeters wide at the front, and 123 centimeters wide at the back. The walls both inside and outside the coffin were engraved with Tibetan Buddhist scriptures and filled with gold lacquer. There were 9 statues of Buddhist disciples and a phoenix playing with peonies on the coffin cover. The entire inner coffin was relatively intact. After opening the coffin cover, they saw the same scene as the previous time it was opened. Under the guidance of experts, the workers carefully removed the blue satin jacket and the yellow satin robe one by one. Before each removal, they took photos and measured the size. After removing the yellow satin robe, they found a small yellow silk bag on top of the robe, which contained a tooth that had fallen out of Empress Dowager Cixi's mouth during her lifetime, and 2 clipped nails. This small bag was used when Empress Dowager Cixi's body was laid to rest by the officials, including Cixi, in 1928. Her body was relatively well preserved, with her head facing north, her feet facing south, and lying flat on her back. Her face and upper body were wrapped in yellow silk, and she wore pants on her lower body embroidered with the character, Show Longevity, with each character being 7 centimeters long and 6 centimeters wide. Her feet were also wrapped in yellow silk. When they removed the yellow silk, they saw that her feet were tied together with a purplish-red ribbon. She wore white silk socks on her right foot, and her left foot was bare, with the sock placed on her left pant leg. After removing the yellow silk from her face and upper body, her true appearance was revealed. Her head was slightly tilted to the left, with sunken eyes. Some of her gray hair was scattered in front of her chest, while the rest hung down on her right side. Her right hand was placed on her abdomen, her left hand hung naturally on the outside of her left hip, and a silk ribbon was tied around her waist with her chest exposed. Although there were no muscles left and there were many cracks on the body, the whole body was still connected by skin and bones. The staff measured the body with a steel tape measure, and it was 153 centimeters long. Based on this, it can be inferred that Empress Dowager Cixi was at least 160 centimeters tall during her lifetime. A yellow silk mattress was laid under the body, and a long wooden board that was used to carry the body at that time was placed under the mattress. The staff used this board to lift Empress Dowager Cixi's body out of the coffin. An expert from the National Cultural Heritage Administration sprayed an antiseptic and disinfectant solution inside the coffin, and then the body of Empress Dowager Cixi was lifted back into the coffin, and the removed items were put back in their original places, restoring the original state. Then, the coffin was sprayed with the solution again and covered. At this time, the carpenter had repaired the broken outer coffin, and then put the lid back on. A huge glass cover was used to firmly seal Empress Dowager Cixi's coffin. The cleaning work took a whole day. This was the third and last time that the Empress Dowager Cixi was coffined. Now, Empress Dowager Cixi's remains are still intact inside the coffin, preserved as they were when she was coffined for the second time in 1928. From the first to the third coffin, 76 years had passed. Empress Dowager Cixi probably didn't expect that 20 years after her death, her underground palace would be robbed and all the treasures she had collected throughout her life would be plundered. She also wouldn't have thought that her body would be taken out of the coffin twice and put back in 3 times in the 76 years after her death. Today, although Empress Dowager Cixi has passed away, her tomb remains, and the traces of her existence are still preserved. Whether they are good or bad deeds, they are equally unforgettable to the world. Even if her remains will decay with time, the treasures buried with her will circulate with her history and become an enduring legend in the era. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you all and see you in the next episode.